Hey guys, welcome to this video in which we will talk about a topic that I already wanted to talk about for a longer period, and I think that's really important. A lot of people don't know that if they don't cry when they're, for instance, feeling sad, that they are hurting themselves. You could even say that if you don't let the bodily reaction come out, that you're poisoning yourself. I did this for many years. Actually, till I was 28, I didn't do it for around 10 till 20 years. I just couldn't cry. And do you know, a lot of guys, especially guys, but I also know girls that didn't cry for a very long period, get taught things like, you should not cry. Guys don't cry. You're a baby when you cry. But actually, these kind of sayings are just very poisoning for yourself and actually also for your surrounding. We have bodily reactions to certain emotions. You could say that when you're joyful, you start laughing. Everyone does this. When you, for instance, are angry, you feel anger. When you feel sadness, it's actually exactly the same. The bodily reaction is crying, and not even only when you feel, for instance, sadness. Sometimes you have to get so much the giggles that tears start rolling down your cheek, and it can even be when you are very joyful, and it's just the bodily reaction. But a lot of people have unlearned the ability to cry and to show this. And in my own experience, when you do this, when you actually suppress an emotion to show out, what you are actually doing is making the range of your emotional feelings and your emotional world smaller and smaller and smaller. So for instance, when you cannot cry anymore, and when you cannot show this, in my own experience, it's not only that you feel this emotion less, but actually you feel a complete range of emotions less. What I, for instance, saw is that I couldn't cry, but I also didn't feel as much joy as would be possible. Since I learned again to really live my emotions and show them, my entire emotional range has grown, and I can cry easier, but I can also laugh much easier and show joy much easier. So your emotional range starts to grow. And in my own experience, you just start to live much more just a liveness life and a true life. I am very interested where a saying like guys don't cry originates from and comes from. Because if you honestly look at it, it just doesn't make sense. If you think rationally about it, it just doesn't make sense, to be honest. If you look at how your body reacts to sadness, it is just crying. If you allow yourself to laugh when you are, for instance, feeling joy, it just doesn't make sense that you don't allow yourself to cry when you feel sadness. It's actually the same thing, but then a different reaction on two different emotions. If you look, for instance, at a baby allows himself to feel all these emotions and also go through them. So it laughs when it is joyful, it cries when it's sad, it can become angry when it's angry. It's just very biologically normal, I would say. The thing that we have done is just start as a collective to believe an inner belief or something that maybe our parents said or the outer world said. And you also have places on this world and certain cultures where they don't have this, and it's just much more normal for guys to cry, and also for girls, it doesn't really matter, but where it's much more accepted. What this shows is that it's not something human, but that is just something that we as a group started to believe. I have to say, the moment that I started to learn to cry again, I have to say it's one of the most beautiful moments of my life, because I think maybe, okay, if you didn't cry, let's take then when you became angry, but not on another person, but just allowed yourself to feel the emotion. But anyone else that has had to cry, probably you have seen that when you cry and when you let the emotion come through, there's a moment that it becomes less, and there's a moment that the emotion just disappears. So it's the way that we work and process this emotion. When you don't process the emotions, it is just very intoxicating for your body, for your soul, for your being. And what I saw myself is, for instance, when you're sad and you don't cry, but you say, I'm the cool guy, I don't cry. What you're actually doing is that you're suppressing, or you're pressing the emotion down, and maybe you feel less in that moment, but what actually happens is that you store it in your body, in your emotional body. It can come out in so many different ways. For me, I, for instance, got a lot of cramps in my shoulders, in my back, but it can be anything. But what will happen is that it is in your subconscious, and it will still trigger you what's actually not needed when you let yourself go through the emotion. It can, for instance, be something painful happened with a friend and you didn't work it through, you didn't allow yourself to cry and to feel the emotion. What then happens is you push it down and it comes out later. Like maybe you get then later in a big fight with that person, or maybe when you see someone that looks similar as that person, you get triggered again. It's so not worth it. And actually this counts not only for crying, but for any emotion that you have. And what's important maybe to say still is that I don't talk about the emotion that we sometimes show to get attention or to manipulate people. For instance, when you cry because you want something from someone. No, true emotion, when truly something painful happens, a complete difference, then it is just very important to, in my own experience, to feel the emotion, allow yourself to feel the emotion, go through it, maybe just sit down for some time, let it come out, and at one point, as mentioned, it becomes less, it's gone, and you don't store it in your body. And it's such a big difference, not only for you, but also for your body, to just process it and give it time to heal by showing the emotion. Frequently working through your emotions and just feeling your emotions has given me a completely different life quality. It is just much more fun, and also I just don't feel so many triggers anymore and so many, I don't know, like things that just come up throughout the day that from the past and from the worries about the future. I would say when you don't store these things in your body anymore, they just lose the power that they have over you. So where you in the past, for instance, let's say I got picked upon, where in the past I would think back about this and I would sometimes feel not good enough, or I would feel triggered. When you allow yourself to go through the emotion, you just don't have that in yourself, so you will be much more in the present moment, much more, in my own experience at least, able to enjoy the things that are there at that moment. And I think this is just very important. A lot of people believe that it is not cool or not tough or not manly when you show an emotion like crying. But think for a moment, really. To be honest, I believe it's the complete opposite. I think you need to have a lot of courage and you have to be very brave to get to a point that when someone hurts you, that you can show your emotion and that you can just say, look, what you did to me hurts me. It also takes a lot of the frustration out, I have to say. But to be honest, for me, it's much harder and it takes much more courage to show these kind of emotions than just to hold them in. I have seen that for me, there came much more confidence, much more inner strength when I started living my emotions and also dared to speak afterwards my truth. It made a complete difference in my world and also in the reactions that I get around me. You're just getting much more authentic and you feel just much better and, in my opinion, much more confident with yourself when you dare to live these kinds of emotions as well. Maybe you saw in the thumbnail of this video the text, every tear is a diamond. And it truly is. Just real tears that come when there's sadness or when you have to giggle so hard that it comes out. Every tear is a diamond. A little bit of the emotion that's there just flows out with every tear. It's almost like the poison of the emotion leaves you with every tear. When you haven't cried for a long period, I've got 3 tips for you that truly helped me in the process of learning it again. And so the first one is to find music or a short video with emotional music and an emotional text that helps you to feel the emotions more. And I, for instance, had this little video called 7 Lessons Learned from Traveling, and it was the first time that I could cry again that I watched that video. And then from that moment on, every time when I felt the need or that there was something bubbling inside of myself that didn't want to come out, I put that video on and it helped me to release the emotion. The second thing that worked was to go deeper into the emotion, and I did that by feeling in my body where I felt the emotion and the sadness, and I tried to stay with that point in my body and just feel the emotion. And quite often what happened was that it became stronger, and because it became stronger, I could release the emotion. And then the third thing that you could try is to think about the thing that happened that made you emotional or sad, and just keep thinking about it. So what I quite often did was I tried to feel the emotion and I kept thinking about the thing that happened, and by keeping your mind about it and keeping thinking about it, it makes it stronger, and at one point you can release the emotion. And what I often did was actually combining all 3 of them. So feeling the emotion, thinking about it, and then putting that music or that video on. And by the combination of all three of them, I could then release the emotion. I hope that this video could give you some new interesting insights and inspires you to live your full range of emotions again. When you do, you are an example to others and you also permit them to do the same. Then thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please write a comment and like the video. If you're interested in future videos about self-development and spiritual development, subscribe to my channel. And if you're interested in a very powerful way to change your life in your subconscious mind, have a look at this video. And for the rest, I wish you an amazing day.